Hey, everybody, this is Carmela from Carmela's Rasslin Radio, Relived. You know, I really think I do look too white here. Tell me what you think, everybody. I think I look way too white. I got to find a way to darken my screen. But anyway, I'm here with my buddy Jeannie, and we have a really, really good show today. Hi, Jeannie. How are you?
Hi, Carm. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. We have a terrific show today. We have three guests today, actually. Before we bring them on, we're going to announce real quick that Joel just told us we have 593 signatures on the petition for the banner.
Yay! More than halfway there.
Yeah, man, God willing. I'm just fixing my camera. God willing, we're going to be where we need to be soon. So, again, everybody sign the petition. Make sure that you get a friend to sign it, and that's all we need. We're going to have some other announcements. Joel's going to be here with some announcements, and we have two other people on the show. One is somebody that you've seen before, and I cannot have him on the show enough because I love him. And this new one that we have is what we would call a big blast from the past.
Yes.
I met this young man when he was 14 years old, I believe. Well, that's when he first got involved, I think. But he was very young when I met him. And now he's still very young. And he's going to be at the May show. So without any further ado, let's bring everybody on. First, we got our friend, wonderful, terrific person and former partner who's doing the One and Done show with another few announcements. Let's bring on Joel Goodhart. Hey, you.
Hey.
How you doing? Hey, how you doing?
Wait. You love Glenn, but you don't love Jimmy and you don't love me. I get it.
Oh, will you shut up? I love Glenn because Glenn is very calm. He's very quiet. He's very complimentary to me. And you are not. Jimmy, I'm not 100% sure yet because I haven't talked to him. So be quiet. All right. Do you have any news for us, or do you want to wait till we bring everybody on?
No, go for it. Bring everybody on.
All right. Okay, here we go. The only man in the world who likes me, Glenn Osborne. Yay! How you doing?
Hey, Carm. Hey, Jeannie. Hey, Joel. How are you guys all doing?
How you doing?
How are you?
Good. Doing very well, thank
everything
you.
Good?
Excited to see everybody here this evening.
Hey, Glenn, just so you know, I like you a lot, but I don't love you, okay?
Oh, my
Thanks,
God.
Joel. I've been wondering, and I'm glad to know where I stand.
He's been wondering.
That's great.
Okay, now we're going to bring on the star of the show, okay? This is a gentleman, like I said, we haven't seen in a long time, but we're going to see him next year. He is the one, the only, Jimmy Jannettty. Yay! Jimmy, what's up? The star of the show.
Welcome.
Yeah, you never ever would hear that on a tri-state show. That never ever would I be the star of the show. So this is a first for me.
Well, you are the star of this show. How's that? Okay. How are you?
I am doing well, better than yesterday. My car is currently broken down, but I am not. I am here. So there we go. That's the best I can offer.
That is amazing. Thank God for that. We have a lot of stuff we want to talk about, okay? But like I said, we want to direct some of this, a lot of it to you. As we said when we spoke the last time, I met you at a very, very young age, okay? You said to me before that you were like 14 when you first started liking wrestling. Tell us a little bit about that, about how you liked it, how you got involved in it.
My grandfather got me involved. He would always, Saturday afternoons, always watching. We were always, my sister and I were at his house, and we were always watching. And up until I wasn't technically allowed to go to shows until I was 12. They wouldn't let him take me until I was 12. So, yeah, I remember actually my first live was a Spectrum show for WWF. My father was fascinated because I was betting with a drunk man about who was going to win the matches. I got all of them right and made a little bit of money that night. So I was,
wow.
The first time for a show. That was great. But the first time I found you guys, and I had started to tell you this, Carm, and I think Joel knows this. I've always been a late night kid. I always wanted to sit up and watch The Outer Limits and anything that was on after midnight.
Me too.
And ended up, I was listening to the radio and got tuned in the dial and came across a talk radio show. Wasn't your guys, Rasslin Radio, but you two were on it. And he was, I don't remember this guy's name or why you were on the show or what the name of the show was that you guys were on. But you were talking wrestling, and I was just fascinated about it. I think it was about 2 hours, and I ended up getting up late for school that day, the next day, because I sat and listened to you guys the entire time, and found out about the radio show, found out about the store. As I said, I never got a chance to go down to the Pennsauken Martin, never got a chance to see the store, but became a Rasslin Radio fan from that point forward.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. And then when we met, go ahead.
One thing I was going to say is if you went to the Pennsauken Mart, you wouldn't have found our store. It was at the I-95.
Say that, didn't you?
Oh, it wasn't Pennsauken.
No,
it wasn't
Pennsauken. What was it?
It was I-95.
Oh, okay.
Philadelphia. Yeah. But you know what, Joel?
I really never would have found it. Yeah, right.
Couldn't just let it go.
For some reason, I thought it was
See, maybe if you knew where it really was, you could have made it.
No, not actually. I think you guys were only open, what, Saturday or the weekend?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
My father owned a hair salon. So my father owned a hair salon.
Okay, gotcha.
And he was constant 6 a.m. Saturday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. He was at his store. So, I don't think I would have ever had the opportunity to get down there. And I didn't drive at 12. You can imagine.
What? What's wrong with you? I mean, a 12-year-old who doesn't drive?
They would not allow it for whatever reason. I don't know. But there you go.
This world, I'll tell you, our parents didn't allow anything.
The first radio show deal that I went to was one of the things at the bus stop that we did. And I forget who the first one was. But it was one of the luncheons at the bus stop to see somebody. I don't know.
Joel, do you remember who the first one was?
That's how terrible I am. My memory.
Not the first one he went to, no.
It may not have been your first one. It may not have been your first ones, but it was mine. Right. So, and that point on, I was an official member of the Schlub Club. And I was official member of the Schlub Club after that point, and from then on, there it was. I was at every event you guys did.
So basically, now we can say that because of Joel and myself, you became a wrestler. Is that correct, or close to it?
I'll tell you the truth. Honestly, and you're in there too, Carm. But Joel, if it wasn't for Joel, I would not have done anything at all. So
tell us about that.
Joel is the cause of all of this. He is the cause of all of it.
Joel's the cause of a lot of things.
Because I was too young. Yeah, right. Absolutely. I was too young originally when Ringmasters Wrestling School started. I was still too young. I was 15 at the time.
Wow.
So, Joel couldn't take me in. And I ended up going to work with a backyard organization. Do you remember Moondog Spike, Bill?
Yep.
Joel?
Yep.
Bill something, or Bill Williamson, I think his name was. But he was running this backyard organization before backyard organizations were a thing. And they would do charity events where they would have us show up in gimmick, in character, and mess around and talk to kids and whatever the case. Once a month, they would run a show at the Woods School in the Chamonix for the special kids. And actually, I'll tell you, a person who saved my life was Max Thrasher, the bounty hunter.
Really?
Because they would rent the ring from Bounty Hunter. And once a month, he would bring the ring with Wolfman. You remember Wolfman?
Yeah.
Sure.
I love that kid. And they would wrestle on their own. And then we would do matches or whatever. And we knew nothing. We didn't know how to do any of this. There was people asking me how to do certain moves. And I was fascinated by that. I was like, you're asking me? But yeah, Bounty Hunter, I remember came, and JT Smith was there with me as well. He was working there with me. And he came to us, Bounty Hunter came to us and said, look, these guys are going to kill you. You're going to end up getting killed working for these guys because they don't know what they're doing. And you guys are going to get hurt. He said, look, I don't care. You come to my school, I'll train you for free, but you got to get away from these people. And JT took his advice, but JT ended up going to Ringmasters. And like I said, I was too young and I couldn't get out to Bounty Hunter's school. It was like 2 hours away from where I lived. It'd be a 4-hour trip up and back every day. So I ended up staying with those folks for a while. And eventually they found out how old I was and I got kicked out. So,
oh my God.
There it was. And I remember my father and I in my kitchen, and Joel was sitting across from us. And my father was agreeing with it, but I was begging Joel to let me come to Ringmasters. I had just turned 16, and throughout everything, I remember, in fact, what Joel said. Joel said he'll never hold the title. He'll never be in the main event. You still want to do this? And I was up and down. Yes, I just want to do this. And finally he agreed. And that's when I was able to come and train at Ringmasters and started everything.
Joel, why
you don't
did
remember
you say
that, do you, Joel?
I'm sorry?
Pay attention. He wants to know if you remember it.
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
I remember sitting with his father. I remember talking to his mother. I remember the whole thing. And what I wanted to see is anytime you have a 16-year-old that wants to come to a wrestling school, they always picture themselves being Hulk Hogan. They see themselves as the ultimate warrior, and they get caught up in all that. And so one of the things I said to them is, you're never going to earn a title. You're never going to be in the main. You're not going to be on TV. Is this something you still want to do? And his answer was yes. Okay,
but let me ask you this. How did you know that he was never going to get a title or he was never going to be on TV? At 16, nobody would know where his future would be.
Doesn't matter because you want him to come in for the love of the sport, not the glory. And the key here is today, well, back then, even then, if you're not 6'4", blonde hair, blue eyes, and a butt that looks like you can kill. I mean, you listen to Jeannie every day when she talks about the matches that she goes to. I love this one. This guy's handsome. It's the looks that gets things going. And the one thing at Ringmasters, we didn't have anybody that was a looker per se. You know, we eventually had Wild Child, which had a nice look to himself. But generally, I wanted to get guys that wanted to get down and dirty, nitty and gritty, and they weren't doing it for the glory. They were doing it because they wanted to learn how to wrestle. Okay? And Larry Winters, look, I didn't teach anybody. Larry Winters and Ron Shaw. Okay? Ron Shaw was a big guy. Larry Winters was just a regular-sized guy. But both of them made a career out of the business. And Ron Shaw never got a title, all right, a main event title. Larry Winters had titles, but never made it. I mean, he did, the scrub matches for AWA against Larry Zbyszko and all that kind of stuff. But the
Larry
reality
Winters
is,
was huge.
yeah, but okay. The key is, why does somebody want to go to a wrestling school? Okay, when Jeannie went out to Dominic DeNucci, Jeannie wanted to be, and then she realized she didn't want to be it. But it's the love.
No, I
of the
wanted to
sport.
be it, but I just didn't want to be treated like a subhuman.
Okay, well, I get it. But bottom line, and Dominic wouldn't have done that.
No, Dominic wouldn't have done that, but unless I solely worked for Dominic, I had to go to somebody who was most likely going to treat me like a subhuman. So,
well, especially back then. Back then, women were treated horribly.
Back then, big time. Big time.
I still think women are treated horribly, but that's my opinion. But all right, Glenn, you haven't spoken yet. Let's hear your take on all this stuff. What do you think about good-looking guys and being title holders and on TV and good-looking guys going to wrestling school? I mean, do you think you agree with Joel?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see what Joel's saying. I mean, as far as that stuff goes and what your goals are, it makes a lot of sense. And in fact, that's where I met Jimmy was at Ringmasters. And I've just been sitting back listening to the stories because I knew that you were in it. I was young in it, and you were even younger than me by a little bit, but you had already had a little bit of experience, which I found fascinating. You told me about wrestling for WFR, Wrestling Fundraisers. You remember that? With Tony Stallone?
That was the one before.
Is that the one you were talking about?
Moondog Spike. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's that one. All right. Okay. Yeah. I thought for some reason I always think of Tony Stallone with that. But it's interesting to listen to.
No, he was there.
Genesis. Yeah. But it's interesting listening to your Genesis, your pre-Genesis almost, before your Ringmaster days. So, and you're such a natural to it. So I'm not surprised that you were drawn to it from such a young age either. So, and Joel seemed to be the ultimate, guy to take you under your wing. So that was great. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead, finish. I just wanted to ask Jimmy a question.
No, I thought, and I know, and how far back you and Joel go, and what a great mentorship that has been over the years. So that's it.
Jimmy, how old do you think you were when you and I met?
Joel, without Joel, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, none of us would.
I wouldn't have done it. It's all his fault.
A lot of things are Joel's fault.
Yes.
How old do you think you were when you and I met? You couldn't have been much older than 16. You couldn't have been.
No, I was 14.
Yeah, I thought so. Because when you went to Joel's school, I was already out of the picture when you went to Joel's school. I was 16
by that time. By that time, it was a couple years. We're gone, and I couldn't start with him, even if he wanted to, even if he allowed it. I wouldn't have been able to start before 16.
So when I met you were literally a baby.
Yeah, I was. I had just turned probably 14 by that point. So I was 13 going on 14 at the time.
That is crazy.
And I loved going to all the Rasslin Radio shows. I ended up going to any of the NWA shows and the Well, no, we didn't do. You didn't. Joel didn't sell too many tickets for the WWF shows. No, but the NWA shows.
Not too many
tickets for
Jimmy, back in the day, you used to take pictures too, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
That's
I remember you and your camera.
Paulie and Cornette. I was always with a camera on my face, taking pictures of everything, and so that's. I had some pictures in the magazines that I sent to them. Not many. There was, I think, maybe like 2 or 3 that were put in magazines. So I really enjoyed all of the shows, and I got a chance. The very first independent show I went to was I don't know if Carm, if you had anything to do with it. I don't know at that point, but it was the main event was Bruiser Brody and Abdul the Butcher. It was in Wildwood.
That was ours. Yeah, that was ours. Yep.
That was ours.
That was my very first independent wrestling show. I had never been before that. And I was fascinated by it.
That was the night that
the Butcher scared the shit out of me.
How about me? Chased me into the dressing room. He wasn't supposed to do that. And he chased me and scared the hell out of me.
I'm sure there was a lot of shit he wasn't supposed to do.
I'd love to have him on the podcast. I really would. I would love it. Listen, some of his stories have to be incredible. Incredible. But Joel, you have... Go ahead.
It's been a while since I've seen him.
Yeah, me too. It's been a long time. Joel, you have some news for our fans tonight. How about we talk about that a little bit?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to do that at the end. Okay. Well, a couple of things we wanted, we keep talking about the May 3rd wrestling card down at the 2300 Arena, the old ECW Arena. And we've already announced 2 visitors to our WrestleCon. The first one that we announced was Sabu, and he will be there in person. And then the second one that we announced was Tony Atlas, and he will be there in person. So I want to announce the third one. The third one actually has tie-ins to TWA. He actually wrestled for me, as I go back over the records, 10 times. One previous show I said he had done it 6 times. But we're going to have the Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez, in the house. Okay. Yes! And Raging Bull, God bless him. We had a great conversation after you had him on the podcast, Carm. And we had a great conversation. He's so looking forward to coming now. It's crazy. And so we're really starting to get a lineup. You'll notice that what we're trying to do with the WrestleCon is obviously we're going to have the 25 TWA guys, which are the real stars of this thing. And then we're going to have some names to help people get drawn in. Sabu, who started with the TWA, is going to be there. Manny Fernandez, who wrestled, as I said, 10 times for us, will be there. And Tony Atlas, which had nothing to do with us, but he was on the McMahon series with Netflix. And since I can't stand that whole crew over there, it was great to get Tony Atlas there. So anyway, we're going to have Raging Bull Manny Fernandez. And I know Glenn's got great stories about Raging Bull.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You want to lay one on us?
Oh, boy. There's so many colorful stories about Manny. My
Pick a
God.
few. A few.
Yeah, I mean, keeping it on, on a very upbeat, I would say there was a couple times that he had me wrestling Bubba Ray Dudley when we were both younger up in those days. Bubba Ray was a little younger than me, but how Manny would take the time and just watch what we would do, and just he always took the time with anybody that needed it to guide us and to tell us, if something was sloppy. How he's very upfront, and he would tell you what you did right, and he would tell you what you did wrong. And he would stand up and say before the shows, everybody here is handpicked. And, if any of us have a problem, either you'll kick my ass or I'll kick your ass, and either way, and then we're done with it. Very upfront guy. That was his philosophy. And I think I said too, just always took care of all of us, just always, made sure we were fed, made sure we had places to stay, always gave us our bookings well in advance. And, I just can't say enough good about him. He got us booked up on Long Island and all these really cool places. And, we had a long association for a long time. And I'm really excited that he's going to be there. I haven't seen him in person. I guess 1999 was the last time we've actually been physically together. So it's going to be a grand reunion. Absolutely. I'm looking very forward to it.
I honestly wish that event, Joel, I never even told you this, but I honestly wish that event would last the whole weekend, really, because I'm so excited. What? What the heck was that with the shaking of the head? What was that?
1 day is plenty. 1 day is plenty.
Not for me, okay? Now, I would love, honestly, to spend a lot of time with a lot of the people that are going to be there, because, like you said, it's incredible to reminisce. And I absolutely adore Manny Fernandez. Always have. And he spoke very highly of you, Glenn, like all the time. Even when I talked to him before he came on the podcast. And he is so genuine. Like you said, like he just doesn't give any crap to you. He's just shoots right from the hip. He's a kind, sweet man. And it's funny because the Raging Bull, is not a kind, sweet man, but Manny Fernandez certainly is. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send him a copy of this because I do almost every week. I send him the podcast, and he listens. He really does. I love him. Awesome. He listens. Yeah, Randy. Oh God, what did I call you, Randy? For Jimmy? I'm sorry.
Because it was Radical Randy before it was Jimmy Jannetti. It was
okay. Well, there you go. All right.
It was going to be Radical Randy, and Joe was like, "No, I don't think so."
Where have you ever worked with Manny?
I haven't worked with him personally. I've worked on a few shows that he's been on, and actually, the first time that Joel brought him into Tri-State was against Wahoo McDaniel.
Wow.
And it was up close to where you lived, Glenn.
Yeah. Minutes away from where I live now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first time that I had met him. And I'll tell you a funny story. I was backstage. I think I had already, and Glenn and I were wrestling on that show that night. Mm-hmm. And I think we had already worked. And I was passing by him. He was sitting in the locker room, and he called me over, and he said he wanted me to go over and tell Wahoo McDaniel something. I said, okay. And he said it. But he said it in a very low voice, and I didn't catch it, what he'd asked. And I asked him, I said, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. And he said it again, but he said it just as low, and I did not catch it. And by that point, I was scared. It was really, I was scared to say what again. So I didn't. And I was like, okay, no problem. And I went over to Wahoo McDaniel and I said, listen, Manny just asked me to come ask you something, but I didn't understand what he was saying. And I didn't want to ask him again what he asked. And he said, no problem. And he picked up and he walked over and they went and talked and whatever. But so Manny Fernandez scared the shit out of me before, I was in the business for a little bit. But,
Jimmy, I don't know if you remember this, but when we had Wahoo against Manny, we had him on Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon, 3 shows. We had him in Westchester near Glen on Friday. We had him in Trenton, I believe, on Saturday. And I can't remember where we were on Sunday afternoon. And they had Manny against Wahoo had a chop fest that to this day, and I told this to Manny when he was on Carm's show, to this day I hear those chops. And those chops, he was as red as could be after he got one night with Wahoo. The next day he was up and running around. And Saturday night he had it again and he went through it again. And then they woke up on Sunday and did it a third time. And what was amazing is I said to Manny on Carmela's show, I know this business. I can't believe I sat there and watched what you guys did. And he said he did that match with Wahoo for 2 years.
Wow.
Okay, there was a chop fest. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I can't get out of bed for 3 days without having an issue. And they did that. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I hate chops. I royally, if there's anything worse, I hate chops.
Well, you know what? It's hard to, obviously, this is a no kayfabe show, which is why I screwed up your name. But it's crazy because a chop is very difficult to not hit. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to not make that contact.
No, it's impossible. You can't make it without doing that.
Exactly.
Well, Ricky Steamboat used to, but he would give those chops to the head. And I can tell you he's never touched anybody with them. But yeah, Wahoo's chops. There's no way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So many people, like, wrestling's scripted. Yeah. Okay, it is great. But like when you're getting that smack, like right here, so hard, even if you hit somebody and like went like that and went up, so it wasn't so bad. That slap, that initial contact is still there. And you're talking regardless. You got a 200-300 pound person on the other side of that hand. And if that hand's hitting you enough to make a smack, a sound, you got to feel it. I don't care who you are. There's nothing fake about that.
No.
And anybody who thinks it's fake can sign a waiver, and one of you guys can give them one. How's that?
There you go.
Jimmy Jannetti used to chop me when I was sunburned.
Jimmy!
Yeah, that stung. I always remember
I'm sure
that.
it did. Well, he was a very fair-skinned. He was a very fair-skinned person. So he had sunburn quite a bit. And what was I supposed to do?
No, you have to, and that's the thing. You got to get that pop, and it can't look weak. You know, it's you got to lay it in.
But that's exactly what we're saying is how painful
exactly
it winds up being for real. You know.
Yeah. You guys can consider how polite he is, and the amount of new curse words that I heard under his breath every time I popped one of those guys.
You know, some of the heavy choppers from our generation, like, you know, Domino and Harley and those guys, you know, Patch, and those guys lay it in. What's that?
Hot Body and Stetson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's some serious.
All right, I'm going to ask both of you, okay? Who do you think in the past, and who do you, I mean, because you experienced it, was the hardest chopper, and who do you think would be the hardest chopper today?
Oh my God. I mean, I've seen some of those Gunther chops now. Those look like they'd be challenging, you know, to take. Trying to think of who was the hardest. There've been so
in the past. I would probably say Wahoo.
I believe that.
I'd say Wahoo or Ronnie Garvin were
Ronnie
the two.
Garvin, really?
Yeah.
Do you mean guys that we've wrestled or guys that
you've wrestled and who?
Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you meant.
No, I wanted to know your opinion of who you thought today, but I wanted to know who your hardest chops were with when you wrestled. Two different questions.
I would probably say Stetson.
Stetson, really?
Tony Stetson. Yeah.
Okay, and how about you, Glenn?
Because I wasn't very formed on my chest when I was younger. Tony used to love beating the shit out of me. God bless him. But so I think either him or I would say Mike Kahlua.
Okay.
King Kahlua would have been another one. He loved chopping me for some friggin' reason. Bless him. And so one of those two, I would say. But I would agree with Glenn on the Gunther thing today.
Yeah.
Today, I think, yeah.
He's the biggest one that I've seen.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody he's wrestled, seriously. Even like somebody from being as fair-skinned as Sheamus to somebody being, not so fair-skinned like, Cody's a little more fair-skinned, but they've all walked away with incredible welts. And again, I want to say to the fans listening, you can't make those welts up in the ring. It's just like when you get hit with a kendo stick. You can't make that up. You just can't. It's not possible. You can't. All right. So that part of it, if you think that's fake, you should try to get in the ring and do it. Because those things you can't fake.
Hey, Jeannie?
Yep.
Who do you think?
Well, I know it wasn't me.
Okay.
Because the one time I had Dominic had me do it to him when I valeted for Larry Zbyszko. I was trying to punch him, and he's like, "No, chop." And so I'm like, "This is just stupid," and I stopped, and I just went back to punching. But anyway, back in the day, I think there's Flair. Obviously, that was always a good one. Even
I'll
Dusty.
tell you, sorry to cut you off. It just popped in my head. The hardest chops I've ever taken in the ring were from Iron Mike Sharp.
Oh, wow.
Because I was going through my head like, who? And then, because I worked with him a bunch of times. And I was like, how could I forget? Yeah, he had those big windmill overhand chops.
I can picture that.
Those were
Yeah.
those were hard.
I didn't like Sharp
big ass hands too.
Yeah, and he was no slouch. He was a big man, very big.
He was.
Man.
Yeah, he was. He was the first guy. I think I've said before on one of your podcasts that when I realized how big wrestlers are is on Joel's show at the Max Myers Field, and one of the first guys I saw that I recognized from TV was Iron Mike Sharp, and he was huge. And I was like, oh my God, so
he was a big boy.
So to be in the ring with him some years later, only a few years later, I guess, and those chops, they were serious. So anyhow.
Yeah, it's one thing I've never had. I've had a lot of wrestling holds put on me. Trust me, I've been body slammed, and I've been put in a sleeper hold and a cobra clutch and figure four, but I've never been chopped. Thank God. I think that would really hurt. But I've never. How about you, Joel? Since you watch so much wrestling, who do you think?
Well, it's funny as the guys were answering the question because it depends upon the kind of chop. Now, when I had Wahoo and Manny in a small auditorium with a couple hundred people, and you heard those chops in the back row as clear as day, I would say that those Wahoo McDaniel without question. Then you go to a bigger auditorium, and guess what? Even Eddie Gilbert used to give great chops. Okay, and he was never a chop meister. He was never one that did that. But I heard chops in the back. I'm telling you, it's scary. It's the guys that do the chops well. Okay, think about this one. When they give you the first chop, that hurts like hell. Then they give you the second chop in the same spot they gave you the first chop. Okay, and that's when you learn what wrestling is all about. Because when Wahoo used to do it, he used to do 6 or 7 chops, and by the time you got to the 7th chop, you didn't feel anything, but the skin was boiling. It was just ridiculous. So I will tell you, Flair did great chops. Ricky Steamboat did phenomenal chops, and people will tell you when Ricky chopped you in the head, nobody felt it.
Did you ever see Gunther do chops at all?
I saw it on television once or twice, but that's it.
Yeah, he's got, seriously though, his hands are like this long. Yeah. They're real big. And he really does. Like I said, people who have fought against him have turned colors. I'm gonna say this to Jeannie because you guys probably don't have never experienced this. But Jeannie, when you were bad and your mother hit you, okay? Mm-hmm. If she ever hit you on your arm or your thigh, or your butt or whatever, it's like Joel said, that first smack, it stings, but they always, when they hit you again and again and again, they never miss that spot. And it was like
it was either the face or the butt, and usually with some type of spoon or paddle or something.
But it's like after a while, you're like, damn, that hurts,
Yeah.
And it's funny because like, kids today would push their parents away or smack them back. Good God Almighty! I think my mother was telepathic because if I even thought about hitting her, she knew it. She would be
I just thought of another one. That did great chops. Luna Vachon.
Okay.
When she had the matches against Medusa at Civic Center, I used to hear that, and I was over the back. Oh my God,
that was awesome.
Yeah, hey, let me tell you something. Luna was a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, she was the best. And I remember you, the match with you, Jimmy, with. Against the Blackhearts when you wound up on the business end of a chair from Luna, from behind, wasn't it?
The chair,
yeah,
the belt, that old tri-state tag belt, and those things were thick. Those things were friggin' heavy. If there's one thing I would love to have had the tag titles or the heavyweight title throughout my entire career. I've seen some lame ass belts through my time. But those things were thick, and she nailed me with that thing. Oh,
I mentioned that in a previous show. When I had the belts done, I wanted belts. I didn't want this sheet metal shit that's being used all over the place now. Those belts were expensive back then. Then when Todd took over the ECW, he made those belts into his belt. Those belts had a lot of history to it. And then when I had Flair had his belt made for the dinner, I had a real belt made. I still have it. And they're heavy as hell. They're heavy. If you're going to get hit by it, it's going to knock you out.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And Luna didn't pull it. Luna did not pull it at all. God bless her.
Jimmy, where did she hit you?
In the head.
On your back or on your head?
No, it was right in the forehead.
Really?
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't have the Tri-State logo sitting on my.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Tag team champions,
right? It would have been the thing. Because I mean, she had the belts on her, and she just anytime they would throw me out, I was fodder for her. She loved it. She loved it. Suplexed me on the outside of the ring, beat me with that.
It's funny. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just like Glenn said, just popped into my mind. She was like not level-headed all the time. She was a little nuts sometimes.
Yeah.
And she didn't take a lot of crap. That's for damn sure. But
she was fun.
Now when I talked to her on the phone, business-wise, she was level-headed. She was Luna Vachon, the person, versus Luna Vachon that you saw at the matches. And when she came into the building, she was one of those old school. She became Luna Vachon the minute she walked into the building. Okay. And she didn't leave. She didn't change Luna Vachon until she left the building. But no, she was unbelievable. No, it was great to talk business with her. And I'll never forget the first time she actually called me out of nowhere and came up with the idea of the black carts and trying to get them up to the Northeast. And that's how we put this whole thing together.
Luna came up with the black hearts?
Luna came up with I was her husband and her boyfriend. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, see, that I never knew. Never knew.
It's really funny with the two of them, because originally she was married to one, and then she ended up divorcing him and marrying the other one.
And you got to believe this. She calls me on the phone, and she says, "Look, I hate to tell you this, but I'm divorcing one, and I'm going to be marrying the other one. Is that okay?" And I said, "What are you asking me for?" When
they still tag team?
Well, yeah, but when the boys are under the hood, nobody knows who they are anyway.
Oh my God.
Okay. So when it was Tom, when it was Dave, what doesn't matter. They knew who it was. She knew who it was, but the fans didn't know one from the other, because those hood, they had put the hood on me one time just to see what they could see, and they were able to see enough. But it was just such a great gimmick. And when they came down, walking down the aisle the first time we had them on the card, and they did this kind of thing, and they walked down the aisle, and Luna gets in the ring, she goes nuts.
Yeah.
But that's what Luna did. Boom.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was her. She was great. I would have loved to have her on the podcast. God bless her. She was amazing. She really was. Have either of you been hit with a kendo stick?
Yes. Plenty of times.
And what does that feel like, honestly?
It's a combination of things. It hurts because it's a wooden stick, honestly. But the kendo sticks are sliced, so they have that I guess that sound of that reparation when it comes back. So it's also like a slap. So as you're getting hit with a stick and it's slapping you at the same time, it's not a fun experience.
Is it hard to pull those back too, or no? Like a slap?
I'm sorry?
Is it hard to pull them back, or is it difficult like a slap?
I would say it would be kind of hard. I've never hit anybody with one. Well, I can't say that. No, I have. But I didn't hold back. And I don't think anybody else held back when they were hitting me. Especially Sandman hit me right in the friggin' ear. I don't know what he has against Jannetty's, but he hit me in the ear too. So
how about you, Glenn?
I don't know if he's aiming for it or if he just whatever. But
maybe. Have you, Glenn?
I don't know. If it ever happened, it was maybe once, and it would have been a while back. I don't remember. I feel like maybe, but it doesn't leap to mind necessarily. But yeah, I mean, oof.
If I'm not mistaken, though, that they're like bamboo, I think.
Yes.
And what happens is once they're sliced, when they're tied together on the two ends, they're not pulled real tight. They're a little pushed in a little bit where they kind of puff a little in the middle. So when you get hit with them, you're getting hit, but it's almost like you're getting hit with a bunch of little tiny belts as well as the stick that's inside all those sliced up pieces. So that's, I mean, that also leaves a lot of red marks. That's got to hurt. It's got to hurt. It's crazy.
It won't kill you like a lot of other things, but there's no real way to pull that stuff.
Yeah, but you won't forget it.
No. Not at all.
Kind of like my mother's hand, you know. You don't forget that. But
I used to get the hairbrush.
Oh.
The back of the end of the hairbrush. And then if you were really bad, you got the other end of the hairbrush.
My mom did the wooden spoon. And that's a God's honest truth. I'm not just saying it because it's a joke. But my mom had the wooden spoon. And let me tell you, like they say in the jokes, that they should be playing for baseball, football, whatever. My mother could just hold it and she would hit me right in the back of the head. Excuse me, constantly, never missed. How about you, Joel? Did you ever get hit with a spoon?
I not hit with a spoon, but my father used to use a strap. There was a thin gray strap with white dots on it. And anytime he pulled that out, I just knew I was going to get my ass whooped. Okay. and he took care of business. I'll tell you that. Yep.
Well, I'm telling any of you young kids that are listening today, okay, you guys have it good. Trust me when I tell you that, okay? Because when we were younger, it wasn't, no kayfabe. Not there either. All right, let's get back to wrestling now. Joel, did you have another announcement?
Of course I did.
I knew that. Okay,
so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start trying to announce some of the matches that are coming up on May 3rd. So we're going to open up with one match today. This match, I will tell you, it's probably the one match on the card that I wanted personally. When I sat down with Bay and we started trying to put together the kind of show we wanted, this is the match that I personally wanted. And I had told Bay from day one, figure out a way to put it on the card. It's going to be on the card. So I'm going to tell you, we're going to have a South Philadelphia street fight. Okay? And it's going to be between Breaker Morant and Chris Wilde.
Oh, now, wow.
I've had the opportunity when I was Joel Blackheart and the Blackhearts to manage both of them at different times. And as I watch those matches, trust me when I tell you, and you guys will appreciate this, that was this generation's DC Break and Larry Winters. It was this generation's Tony Stetson and Johnny Hotbody. These guys beat the living hell out of each other. They were phenomenal. And Breaker, if those of you who follow Facebook and some of the sheets, Breaker announced a while back that he was going to have 7 matches that would end his career. And I believe he's done 4 of them, and there's 3 more to go. And we're here to tell you that on Saturday, May 3rd, at One and Done, for Breaker Morant, it's going to be one and done because that's going to be his retirement match. And Chris Wilde has basically vowed that he's going to destroy his whole career. And we're going to try to get them both on one of your podcasts, Carm, because these guys, they do not like each other. And when I tell you we're going to do a TWA style match, we're calling it the Philly South Philadelphia Street Match. Okay, Breaker's big time in South Philly. In fact, I fully expect one half of the building to be with South Philadelphia people cheering him on. But we're going to have that match. It's going to be Breaker Morant's retirement match, Saturday, May 3rd on our card. Breaker Morant against Chris Wilde. Tremendous history.
Wow. So that's really going to be his final match on your show?
It's going to be the final match. He's already announced it on Facebook that he had 7 retirement matches, basically retirement match 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the 7th one was going to be on May 3rd. So he had already announced it. So there's no reason to keep it secret. It's on our card. It's going to be his last one and done. And it's going to be very interesting. Let's just leave it at that.
Wow. Those guys, oh my gosh, they leave it all in the ring, outside the ring. I mean, you name it. I've seen some major brawls between those two. They are phenomenal.
Oh my God. They destroyed some furniture.
Yes.
They destroyed a ring. We did a War Games back in ECWA days. Okay. Yes. And I was a player in the damn War Games.
Yeah.
And they killed each other in War Games.
Didn't Chris fall? Was it Chris or Breaker? I think it was Chris. He jumped off the top of there was a scaffold there or something.
Yep. Both Breaker and Chris did some crazy moves. And I couldn't wait to get out of the way. And I had a cage between me and them. Okay.
Wow.
It was unbelievable.
Now, let me ask you, the South Philly street fight, it's going to be like a, like no holds barred, no rules, none of that stuff?
How about if I don't want to tell you yet? Let me put it to Carm, let me put it to you this way. We've applied to this Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission for some waivers. Okay, I'll just kind of leave it at that. If we get the waivers, I will be able to come on here and tell you exactly what we're going to do.
Wow, and you sure we're going to be able to get them on the podcast?
We'll get them on the podcast. I'm so sorry. You know, I thought about this the other day. Frank Talent, who has since passed away.
Oh, I love Frank Talent.
Yeah, he's now on my list for the 10 bell salute. But Frank Talent, one time there was, I don't know even how to describe it. We had matches at the Civic Center, and every once in a while they all beat the hell out of Frank. Okay,
poor Frank.
But I'll tell you, if Frank was at the State Athletic Commission, I would tell you right now, we would get the waivers. Okay, I don't know who the people are at the State Athletic Commission now. If they give us waivers, we'll let you know. And if we don't get the waivers, we're still going to have a brawl. It's going to be South Philadelphia, some way, shape, or form, South Philadelphia street fight.
Okay, Rasslin Radio people, you listening to this? Okay, this is going to be amazing. We are going to beat the hell out of you with promotions on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on any platform that you listen to your podcasts, et cetera, on. We're going to have stuff coming up almost every single week between now and May. And then after May, I don't know what Joel's going to be doing, but after May, we're going to have people back on the show. Shut up. Back on the show to tell us what their mornings are like now when they try to get out of bed. So that'll be pretty cool. I'm going to love that one.
I'll say one thing, Carm. The one nice thing about May 3rd, you're going to have an opportunity to go up and meet Jimmy Jannettty. You're going to have an opportunity to go up and go see Glenn Osborne. You're going to go up to get the chance to see Breaker Morant and Chris Wilde and all the other names you're going to hear, and certainly Sabu and Tony Atlas and Manny Fernandez, amongst others. You're going to have an opportunity in the afternoon, 12 to 3:30, to go to WrestleCon. From 6, the doors open, to 7:30, you're going to have dinner. 7:30 to whenever the show ends, you're going to have some great wrestling, TWA style. And then, I won't announce where it's going to be yet, but we're going to have an after party.
Oh,
okay.
God.
Now, the one key to the after party is you must show your ticket to get into the after party. You can't just show up that night. Yep. And the security at the hotel will check the tickets, and they're going to record the tickets. We're going to know what seats you're sitting in, so you can't, keep sharing the same ticket to 5 people. We're going to have an after party. It's going to be a long day, a long night. But then if anybody calls me Sunday morning, I will personally kill them.
I will. No, but seriously, make sure you hold on to your ticket stubs, because I am the perpetrator of throwing them away. I'm like, all right, I'm here. I don't need this. But, it reminds me of George from Seinfeld. Every time he walked out, he needed his stub again. He didn't have it. But I'm telling you, keep your stub. Keep your stub. You will not get into the after party without it, okay? We're going to announce it till we're blue in the face. And you guys are going to be so missing out if you don't go.
So just real quick, I want to make sure, because I know I've some friends coming, but they're going to come to the WrestleCon. They're not sure if they're going to be able to make the show that night. So if they go, the ticket to the WrestleCon won't get you into the after party, correct?
That will not get you in the after party. It will be a ticket to the show.
Okay. I just wanted it to be clear.
Yep. And just to make sure, the tickets are available on sale on 2300arena.com. If you go on there right now, you can pick the seats that you want. 1/4 of the front row seats are already gone. Okay, we've got general admission seats, reserve seats, good seats, better seats, et cetera, et cetera. I'll tell you, what's amazing to me is every day I go on to see how our tickets are going. And here we are 8 months before the show. Okay, what's clear is good stuff is happening. Do I want it sold out? Do I want it sold out tomorrow? Sure. But the NWA decided they were going to NXT, announce the show, and it sold out the day it opened up. Okay, people love to see that stuff for whatever reason. Now you're going to see some true hardcore professional wrestling, and we got to go on these shows and constantly beg people to buy the tickets. But you want to see some good stuff. Jimmy Jannetti is as good as it gets in the ring. Glenn Osborne is as good as it gets in the ring. And just because they didn't have the big name at the time doesn't mean that they aren't phenomenal wrestlers. Okay, and I'll tell you something. I'm kind of sorry that we're all getting older, okay? And one of the deals I made with all the guys that I got to come here is I spoke to their wives as best as I could, and I said, no bumps. We're not getting in the ring. Nobody wants to see a 70-year-old wrestler or a 60-year-old wrestler, okay? So we'll see, the bottom line here is you're going to see a great show, and it's going to be a total day. You got to buy tickets for the WrestleCon separate from the matches. So when you go online, you have to buy tickets twice, whatever the case might be. If you come to the WrestleCon, you'll have a great time. And it's only $20. You'll have a great time. It's not going to get you into the after party, and it certainly doesn't get you into the matches.
But I was also going to say, at the WrestleCon as well, you're not going to have to pay. Whatever the price is, I don't know. But you're not going to have to pay $200 to get your picture taken with somebody, okay? And if you try to say hi to a wrestler, they're not going to be this big burly bodyguard there saying, unless you pay, you can't talk to this wrestler. That's not going to happen, okay? Jeannie and I, which Joel did not say, Jeannie and I, along with a lot of other people, are going to have a live podcast that day. So we will be there in case anybody wants to say hi to us. Also, Jeannie and I have purchased our tickets. We're in the third row in the northwest section. And we already have more than a few seats sold in that row if you want to sit with us. It's a northeast section, row 5. It's going to be Jeannie, myself, Christine, Jake, and everybody knows who Rich Concannon is, the pop master. He bought a ticket in our seat too, or in our row too. So he's going to be there. So,
and he wants to be on the podcast during the WrestleCon. Yes, I said yes.
And also my dear friend Tony Brown, who is DJ Tony Truth. If you've seen, I did a couple of tapes for him for some of the basketball stuff in his podcast as well. He's going to be there too. A lot of people that we know and love are going to be there. We're waiting to hear from Lynn Brown. We're waiting to hear from James from West Philly. Richard Williams is going to be there with his friends. A lot of people that we talk to are going to be there. Actually, I'm even trying, believe it or not, I'm even trying to get some people from work who know nothing about wrestling to be there. And it's funny because when Baby Doll was on last week, I was talking about marking out. Jeannie and I were talking about marking out and everything. And my supervisor said to me, she had the video up on her big screen TV in her living room. And she said to me, what is all this wrestling stuff? Like, what does marking out mean? And what does heat mean? And what does it? And I explained everything to her. I said, this is just wrestling jargon. I said, you guys want to come? And they're like, we'll see, maybe. So I just keep working on them, but you got to ask your friends. Ask your friends. Come. We will have a ball. Anybody who used to go to the Marriott years ago, we're going to relive it. We're going to relive the nights of the Marriott. Nobody peeing on anybody's leg. Not going to have that. We're not going to have any fighting or brawling. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward so much, and I know Jeannie is, to seeing all you guys again.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
Jimmy Jannetty's going to be there. Glenn Osborne's going to be there. Virtually, almost every person that's been on my podcast in the past a few weeks, how many weeks, is going to be there. Manny Fernandez is going to be there. How could you not want to see the Raging Bull? Okay? That's the only reason I'm going. I'm not even going to see Joel. I'm going to go see the Raging Bull.
Now, think about this for a second, Carm. You've got Manny Fernandez coming in from Texas. You got Tony Atlas coming in from Maine. You've got Jimmy Jannetti coming up from Florida. You got Sabu coming in from Michigan. Okay? You got Glenn coming in from Westchester, just solely Westchester. Okay. We're going to have people
from Rhode Island.
We're going to have people from all over the country. Okay. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be this show took 40 years in the making. Okay. It took 40 years in the making. And it's just amazing to me. Some of the other names that we have coming that I'm not going to announce right now, we're going to spread it out. Some of these people have got such history that they're all going to be in the same building at the same time. And and I've said this 100 times, if not 1,000 times. The real true stars of the TWA are the Jimmy Jannettis and the Glenn Osbornes and the DC Drakes and the Larry Winters, God bless them, and the Tony Stetson and Johnny Hotbodies. And I can go down the list. They were the true stars. They were the true stars in TWA. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? And I did not attend the shows. Everybody knows I did not. Joel hates me for it. But I know for a fact, okay, shut up. I know for a fact that these guys worked their butts off. And they actually gave 1,000% to that sport. And I'm sorry that I didn't see it. Unfortunately, I had things going on in my life that I couldn't. But I'm sorry that I didn't see it. But I'm so excited about seeing everybody on May 3rd. And don't forget, with this banner is really, really important. It's important to have the banner hung. It's so important. Jimmy, have you signed it yet?
Yes.
Okay, Glenn?
I was
I was going to ask, and the link's floating around out there, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have...
when I see you coming up, I'll make sure you get the link.
Okay, great.
Also, every time we post a show, I ask Bay to either give me the link or put the link up. So if you don't see it and you want to sign it, contact one of us and we'll make sure that you get it. Okay. And also ask your friends. I know you guys have friends, family, whoever. It's all we need is people's names. And then Joel, we have names. There are names on your petition from all over the world, I think, really.
We got somebody from New Zealand. We got somebody from England. We have a couple of people from Canada. This thing, because of the internet, it's all over the world. Okay. Right. And they don't ask me how they heard about it, but they heard about it. So yes, it's all over. And what happens when you go on the internet, you sign up, we get your name, we get your email address, we get your phone number. Okay. So we've got a database of people. Now, right now, think about this. We have 593 signatures. And all 593 are not coming to the show. Exactly. Now, a lot of them are from thousands of miles away, and I get that. But even some of the local people that have signed the petition are still not purchasing tickets, and they got plenty of time. Okay, I mean, God bless you, can buy at the door if you want. The key to this is we're going to sell this building out before that day. So if you're going to wait till the last minute, I can guarantee it only seats 897 people. It will be sold out.
Right, and buying the tickets this early is always a plus. It really is. I also want to say one more thing before we go back to our hosts, our stars, I want to say instead. I want to say a special hello to Dave Katz, okay? Dave Katz is another one who is going to be at the con. He's going to be there with Professor Ouch, and he will stay for the wrestling matches, and he will be a part of it with us. And I'm going to say this because I'm very, very honored that he said this to me. He virtually emails us almost every single week, okay? And he has literally told me that, in his opinion, our show gets better and better every week. And I got to tell you, I couldn't have a better compliment. I really couldn't.
Especially from Dave.
Especially from Dave. Oh my God, Jeannie, you are so right. Dave is the epitome of the Doubting Thomas. He really is. And he said that he is actually addicted to our podcast. Aww. And I honestly, he did. And I honestly think that it's because we don't pull any punches. We are no kayfabe. We are honest. We are filled with stories. I'm finding out more and more that people just love to hear stories. They love to hear what it was like to actually interact, to be a wrestler, to interact with the wrestlers, and to do what we need to do, you know? So in any event, let's get back to Glenn and Jimmy. And I'm going to ask both of you guys, if it was possible to wrestle forever, would you? Do you think you would do it, or would you still not want to do it? Forget age, forget pain, forget all that.
You know what? Honestly, the business has changed so much In the last even 10 years, 5 years, it has changed so much. I don't think I would be able to keep up with it, age or not. Nowadays, it's more about constant movement in the ring. There is very little times that you'll see, even with WWE, that somebody's going to grab a hold and they're going to sit there for a minute or two. It's just constant movement, and it's hard for me even to watch nowadays.
Yeah,
it's that constant movement, and something's always happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't believe that I could keep up with it. I would try. I'm sure I would try. But yeah, I don't believe I could.
Okay, Glenn?
I agree with all of those points. Yeah, I mean, things have just changed. If things could have gone back, if we could do it now, what we were doing then, it's a whole different world. So in that case, yeah, but in reality, no. I think it's just changed so much, and I think you just get eventually, as much as you love it, you just get sick of the grind of it. Not so much but I always said, the travel part, the waiting around, all that grind stuff, I don't miss. But so no, ultimately no, not forever.
Okay.
But I wouldn't change anything as it had been,
So basically, the aging and the pain is not as important as the grind and the movement constantly and the running around constantly. Because I know a lot of wrestlers still wrestle almost every day. Now at least the WWE is getting like a week off for Christmas and a week off for babies being born, and they can go to their kids' birthday parties and stuff like that. I remember under Vince McMahon, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. You worked 365 days a year, and that was the end of that, But I get what you guys are saying. I mean, for as much as I was involved in wrestling, okay, and I was literally on the outside looking in, I don't know that I would still be able to do it, because you're right. There's so much hecticness in it all over the place now. And again, years ago, to me anyway, it was like a big, huge family. Okay. It was territorial, it was family. Once you knew the guys and the girls, and everybody got, their respective, let's say, parts in the world of wrestling, you knew who you were, and you knew what you were going to do, and who you could do it with. Today, it's a whole different story. Like, even the fans today can't get within a foot of a wrestler without paying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to do it. And it's a shame. It really is a shame. But you're right. You're both right. It's changed so much. Yeah, Jimmy, you were going to say something.
And even when the look at the injuries today, of how many people are out injured, and they don't wrestle the schedule that guys like Piper or Hogan or whoever did,
right?
And how often were they out, or were they out with injuries compared to some of these people today? It's become a lot harder of a sport. There's less work in it than there is they're actually killing each other.
Exactly.
I don't know if you guys saw the CM Punk Drew McIntyre match.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't watch it live, but I went back and watched the replay. Oh my God. I wouldn't know how to react.
Did you see the gash in his head?
And that's it's.
Yeah, that was not fake.
No.
That was not fake.
Toolbox busted him open real good.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it was an accident, but it wasn't fake.
No, I don't. It was an accident, but
yes,
a happy accident, I guess, for them. That's
Oh yeah, exactly.
I couldn't do it nowadays. I really. It used to be about, honestly, make it look as legitimate as possible, but they never touch you.
Yeah.
Now it looks like shit, and it probably feels like shit. So I just couldn't do it nowadays.
Well, you know what the thing is too. I think you have to understand too now, because Joel's always saying this too. Today it's acrobat. It's more acrobatic than anything else. That's where you're getting all the movement, Jimmy. But it's so acrobat that they're really not doing a lot of wrestling, like you said, with the holds and all this other stuff. There's a lot of gymnastics involved in it, which is where I think some of their injuries, or most of their injuries, are coming in by flukes, accidents, twisting your leg the wrong way. Years ago, the accidents were because you beat the hell out of each other, okay? And then came the drugs. You have to wrestle, so take a pill. You have to take a wrestle, so I'm going to give you a shot. See, they don't do that now. That's why the wrestlers are out for 6, 7, 8, 10 months at a time, because that's how long it takes to really recover. All right.
And I'll bring one thing up. If you think back to our day, the best punches in the ring were in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
Jerry Lawler, Austin Idol, Dr. Tom Pritchard, they used to punch, and nobody ever got hit. Nobody ever got hit. And these guys would punch all day long, and sold. Today, they want you to hit. Okay? And you've got to hit because there's 18 TV cameras facing you at all times. And if you miss by a quarter of an inch and it shows it, it'll be the headline in the Wall Street Journal. So they're being told. I remember talking to the guys from my shows, and they used to say, everybody in my building is going to have a front row seat at some point during the show. I want you to get out of the ring, do what you got to do, and keep in mind, all these smart marks are in the front. Okay? If you're going to hit. Well, they don't do that in Memphis. Man, those guys miss. It's unbelievable. And you can watch those matches 100 times, and you still can't figure out how Austin Idol and Jerry Lawler and Tommy Rich and all those guys did all that, but they did it. Okay, and then the next night they did it again. And the next night they did it again. And the next night they did it again, and nobody knew from one town to the other what happened the night before. Today,
no internet.
Do you realize the WrestleMania tickets went on sale and the front row is $10,000? And you're supposed to want to take your kids to the show. The cheapest seats are $400. Now the show's in Las Vegas. Okay, it's $400. It's
but the sad part is they're gonna get it.
Oh, they'll sell it out in 2 seconds.
Yeah,
and you can be able to buy it on the internet for $18,000.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Okay, because the matches are so rehearsed today, one little screw up can actually screw up the entire match. Sure. Years ago, what you're saying, Joel, is exactly. I'd love to get Jerry Lawler, by the way, when you talk to him. I'd love to get him on the podcast too, because years ago, like you guys are both saying, you didn't learn anything till you were in the ring. You learned it from bumps and bruises. You learned it from getting hurt. You learned it from getting thrown out of the ring. You learned it, and the thing is today, like the one time, and I will never forget this till the day I die. There was a match where Damian Priest, I forget the whole thing, but he was supposed to kick out at 2, okay? He didn't kick out at 2. He forgot. He messed up. And they actually said that at the press conference after the pay-per-view. Triple H said, all right, it was a mistake. He made a mistake. What do you mean he made a mistake? That was, and that changed the outcome practically of the whole match, okay? But, I mean, how do you admit that? How do you say they made a mistake? I agree that kayfabe today doesn't exist, but come on, have a little decorum about that. You know what I mean? I don't know. I liked it better when you guys were all doing it because kayfabe should have been in and kayfabe I think should be in it a little bit today. How do you guys feel about that?
It kind of has to be. Wrestling works best when kayfabe's enforced, I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Now it's just such a show. I mean, it's just all character. They're playing characters. They use the terms characters and all this.
Yeah.
It's just not what I know. It's not what I got into. That's not how we were taught. It's stuff I said to someone the other day. The values that we were taught coming in and stuff. I mean, they get wrecked every on an hourly basis in wrestling these days. You know, the stuff that we were taught was important and everything. Now it's just, you know.
It's more entertainment instead of the actual sport.
And unfortunately, a lot of really important things get lost.
Yeah.
When you look at it that way, I think. I definitely think kayfabe should be back. Works best.
You know, the one thing that made the TWA as good. Here we are talking about it 35 years later, is when you came to a show, you always left saying, this shit's real, okay? And you think back to those days, even before TWA, what made the sport was the facade. Just the little things that Dick the Bruiser did. I mean, look, Spiros Arian was my guy. What he used to do, what Freddie Blassie used to do. I mean, you can go over and over. Bruno Sammartino wrestled Bulldog Brower 9 times at Madison Square Garden, okay? And Bulldog Brower obviously worked with me. Bruno Sammartino at the beginning worked with me. These guys created the sport. You know, I used to say on WIP, on Rasslin Radio, they called sports entertainment. And really, that's not true. It's not a sport. And it's not entertaining. Okay? The old-time wrestling, man. And that's why I call it wrestling, not wrestling. Wrestling is what makes what we did, and certainly not me in the ring. These guys did in the ring. It's what people saw. When Glenn Osborne came running out because Kevin Sullivan called him out. I mean, I watched that over and over and over again because at that time, Glenn was really green. He wasn't really sure what he was supposed to do. And he had said this all. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
Ducking chairs.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for you that night. Even though we were still at odds in those years, I still felt bad for you that night because you got hit with how many of those Civic Center chairs?
I have no idea. I don't know. I think I was unconscious actually at some point. I don't really remember.
God, Glenn.
He kept hucking these chairs. I was a teenager and he just kept like hucking these chairs through the air. Those big Civic Center chairs.
Oh my God.
Probably knocked something loose in the process. But yeah, do you know that's how we learned.
Do you know how much those chairs were? Do you know how much those chairs were?
No.
How much?
Now keep in mind, this is in 1989, 1990, 91. I got billed if they were busted $325 a chair.
Oh my God. I wonder how much they cost today.
Oh, I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think. They were $325 a chair. Fortunately, it took a lot to bend those things and break those things. But
yeah, like maybe poor Glenn's head.
Kevin Sullivan Terry Funk sure tried with all of them.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
But that's how we learned, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's a heck of a
learned how to duck.
Yeah. Remember your name now, Glenn?
Oh man,
really bad for you that night.
What was your hardest or worst injury or worst episode in a match, or first thing that comes to mind when you're like, oh my God, I'll never forget this? One thing, if you can think of something that was outstanding in your mind forever in your particular matches.
For me, it was my rotator cuff, left shoulder for my rotator cuff.
Tell us about that.
And actually it happened in Ringmasters. I was working with Glenn. We were working on something. I forget what it was. And I went up to because you couldn't go up to the top rope in Ringmasters, the gym there. It was a very low ceiling. So I went off the second rope and misjudged it, tried to roll out of it, and ended up planting my shoulder into the mat, and I was stuck. I was screwed. And it culminated actually with I go into the doctor. The doctor had said he was going to give me a medication. He gave me a muscle relaxers and a few other things. And he basically said, don't wrestle. And I remember my sister had took me to the doctor. And as I was leaving with her, she said, are you going to listen to the doctor? I said, no, we got a match this weekend. I got to go. So,
did you wrestle?
And that was the Max Myers, show.
I remember that story.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you did wrestle?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God!
It was Mike Bruno and I against CN Red and Sandman.
Wow!
Wow!
Oh my God!
And Sandman gave me so much shit because he used to love to do that Ric Flair spot off of the ropes, where you body slam him off of the top rope.
Oh
yeah.
wow!
And I could not lift my arm above this, and he wanted me to slam him off of the top rope. And the way I came down, he was just very angry at me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were hurt.
Well, Carm,
and he knew that and didn't care. But either way,
talk about being hurt at that show. Picture this scenario: the main event happened to have been Ken Patera against Kamala the Ugandan Giant.
Oh
as you know, Kamala wrestles barefoot. We did that show in 100-degree temperature. The carpet he couldn't even stand. He couldn't even stand, but Patera kept knocking him off his feet so he could just cool off.
Wow, that's horrible. How about you, Glenn?
Two that come to mind, just quick. Had a couple hard shots to the spine over the years. One was when a guy jumped off the top of a cage. It was in a cage match, and a guy jumped off the top, and he had my chain in his. He had gone up the cage, wrapped the chain around his fist, and jumped off and gave me a double axe to the head. But he really connected, and he's like a 230-pound guy. Came off, bam, and I felt my legs. A buddy of mine, who's also a wrestler, said they could actually see my legs buckle from the dressing room, and the only way I knew, I couldn't feel my legs for a second, but I knew I was okay because he went and whipped me off the ropes. I couldn't feel what was happening with my legs, but I knew I was running, and that was good enough. I think the stuff I'm dealing with today is cumulative, but that's one of the shots I think that kind of helped advance what's going on. And then another time, I guess it was around 96, I took a super kick from Ace Darling. It wasn't his fault, but the toe of my boot got caught in the mat cover. And as I fell back and I heard this loud pop, and I just had this, it felt like I got shot in the ankle, and it was flopping around and stuff. And that was very
Glenn. Oh.
And I had to wrestle the next night for Jim Kettner, actually, because I had his title. So I just loaded up on ibuprofen and had an air cast, and I hadn't seen the doctor yet. And so we worked the crutch into the match and everything. I actually broke the crutch over my opponent's head. Legit. We didn't expect that to happen. Got a lot of color because I had taken all these ibuprofens and everything. So that turned into a horror show. It's a great match, though. It's one of my favorites.
Is it on the internet? I mean, can we watch it on YouTube, Glenn?
It's on YouTube. If you go to ECWA Classics, TV Classics, it's from somewhere in 97. They have some of those old ECWA TV shows on there.
That's crazy.
This is what makes the sport of wrestling so classic. Yeah. When Jimmy was going to answer the question, I didn't know he was going to talk about that one. I still remember, because it's on YouTube, the time that we had Abdul the Butcher against the original Sheik, and all the young guys from the back came out to separate them, and Sheik got a hold of Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy.
The look on Jimmy's face, he was scared shitless.
Just look at his face now.
That man was 1,000 years old at the time. And he had the strongest headlock I have ever felt in my entire life.
Oh my God.
And then Abdul the Butcher yelled 3 of the scariest words I've ever heard. He's, "Cut him, Sheik, cut him."
Oh my God.
And he turned around and just popped me with his fingers, and I had a pair of lips on my friggin' forehead.
Oh my God.
That didn't bleed. It didn't bleed at first. To the deal of Bulldog Brower then pulled me over to the side and said, "Here, it's not bleeding yet," and took one of those disposable cameras and hit me in the head with it. And then it started to.
Welcome to the TWA.
Oh my God. Okay, I want to interrupt all of you for a minute. I just want to say this. You see this, wrestling fans? This is what we tell you about the difference between real wrestling and today's wrestling. Understand that. Again, today's wrestling is entirely acrobatic. Their injuries are 99% by accident or flukes because of how it's memorized, it's rehearsed over and over again. What these guys are telling you is what wrestling was always like, the real stuff. When you break a leg, like with Sid Vicious even that time, you break a leg, you break an arm, you pull a rotator cuff, you're cut, you're bleeding, you can't feel your legs, and you wrestle the next day. These people get hurt today and they're out on vacation for 10 months, going from island to island with their own personal trainer and their own personal therapist. These poor guys had to crawl out in the street practically from the building to get to their car, and they wrestled the next day. That is what you call wrestling. That is what you call a sport, and that is what you call, in my opinion, superstars. Not today. Today they're not superstars. These men and the men like them are superstars. They're true, honest-to-God wrestlers. To hold that name up like it's an icon, like it's lit on fire. Those are wrestlers, the people that did what these people went through. And that's why I get so angry at the prices that are out today. I get so angry when administration says, oh, well, he made a mistake, so they had to rush to the finish. I get so angry when people are like, oh, well, did you see this or did you see that? Yeah, a fluke like what happened to Drew McIntyre. He had a gash about that big. But it was an accident. When these guys wrestle, he just got done saying he didn't bleed. Oh, well, he didn't bleed, so now I'm going to make him bleed. Give me a camera. I'm going to hit him in the head. You don't see that today. That's real wrestling. What Glenn said, where he couldn't feel his legs, but he knew he was running. Now, imagine that sentence, okay? I couldn't feel my legs, but I knew that I was running, so that's okay. Do you really hear that?
We're crazy.
I'm telling you, but you know what? I got to tell you, nothing but respect. Yeah. Nothing but respect. Yeah. Incredible.
I remember
respect.
Joel said years and years ago, he said, to be in this business, you've got to have a screw loose. And I always remembered that.
A couple.
He had a few of them.
Yeah.
A couple screws loose. Man, oh man. All right, well, look, it looks like Mr. Jimmy Jannetti is getting darker and darker by the minute. You're outside, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm on my back porch here, so.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody needs a little rest if you haven't had dinner yet or whatever. This has been so good. I want to talk to you real quick about a couple of things. First of all, we're going to do a Larry Winters tribute. And, I had asked you, Glenn, before, Jimmy, I'd be honored to have, I can have up to 10 people on this screen. So I'd be honored to have you back. We'll let you know.
Larry, like I said, Joel being the number one, but Larry Winters, I would not be anywhere in this business without Larry, without Joel. So yeah,
yeah, a lot of people can say that. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that about both of them. Yeah. So we're going to do that. I'm also going to have a tribute show for Bruno Sammartino at some point. Because man, I got some stories to tell on that one. Okay, and these words were into my ears from Bruno's mouth. Okay. So we're going to have more stuff about the one and done coming on May 3rd of 2025. We're going to have Joel here. Unfortunately, he's going to be here very often.
So yeah, chicken cutlets. I'll be here anytime you want me.
And by the way, just to let you all know, I did offer to make chicken cutlets for the big dinner on Saturday. He said no. I'm just telling you.
Wait. What big dinner are you talking about?
There's going to be a big dinner at my house on Saturday.
Oh, God. Was I invited?
I offered to make, huh?
Was I invited?
You're not invited. No, you're not invited. Larry and Larry, oh my God, God bless him. We're just talking. He'll be there in spirit. Jimmy and Glenn, you're invited.
Cool. Very cool.
Yep, but we're going to have a good meal.
Nice. Enjoy the dinners, guys.
We're going to have
I'm missing it too, Joel.
We're going to have homemade meatballs. We're going to have 3 different kinds of garlic bread. We're going to have baked ziti with 4 different kind of cheese.
You better
That's
leave
right.
Florida now, Jimmy.
You know,
That's
I'm
okay,
missing
Jimmy.
this. I lived alone for so long. Nobody cooks for me anymore. I stuck.
Yeah, but Jimmy, what did I tell you, honey?
I know, and thank you, God bless. That's
Absolutely. And Glenn, is your wife coming too?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well,
I don't think
is
so.
she coming to the show in May?
Probably.
Good. I'd love to meet her. I never met her before. She's stunning.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet her.
Oh, thank you. Definitely.
You're quite welcome. Anyway, we're very excited about what's coming. We really, really are. All joking aside. We want to have everybody, as many people as possible. I would absolutely love standing room only. If we get to the point for standing room only, you can all get in for what, Joel? $10?
I'm still pissed off I'm not coming to your dinner Saturday night.
Hey, you've had enough food. You've had enough of my cooking. This is for people who have never had it.
Wait, the hell I have. What time is dinner Saturday night? What time is dinner Saturday night?
Saturday afternoon, 2:00.
Jesus, right after dialysis, I'm coming over.
All right, you can come over. All right.
I wasn't invited. Maybe I don't want to show.
You not show for an Italian dinner? I don't think so. Jeannie's going to be there.
Yep.
So we're going to have a good time. Jimmy, I promise you I'll make it up to you. I really
Thank
will.
you. No, and I should be making it up to you. I'm sorry I can't be there.
Honey, it's not your fault.
I really did. I wanted to be there, but unfortunately, yeah. So, but I'll see
you. You will be missed, Jimmy. You will be missed. I was looking forward to. I haven't seen you since I think 2014. I think.
Yeah.
Well, think of it this way: the ones that show up for this dinner that she's doing will have more to eat because he's not there.
Well, I mean, how much is he going to eat anyway? I mean, how much more is more? You know?
I used to be known as Spaghetti Jannetti.
Oh,
but
wow.
nowadays I'm more as Ravioli Jannetti. So, a little rounder now.
How about baked ziti Jannetti?
Baked ziti Jannetti is good too. So, and it's full of cheese, right? It's full of cheese and all sorts of stuff.
Lots of cheese. Lots of cheese.
I'd be baked ziti Jannetti.
Yeah, all right. Baked ziti Jannetti, that'll work. But we'll get you in May 3rd, okay? And don't forget, please, the petition must be signed, okay? Don't forget, May 3rd, 2025. Keep listening. We got stuff coming up that you would not believe. I'm very excited. I'm going to say thank you to Jimmy Jannetti, to Glenn Osborne, to Joel Goodhart. Thank you, guys. I love you all.
Anytime. Thank you for having us.
You guys have made this.
Enjoy your dinner.
Made this incredible, huh?
Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you, sweetheart. I'll save you some.
You will.
Okay. Mwah, to all of you.
See you later.
Love you guys.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Have a great night. Jeannie, we're going to have a big dinner. We're going to have fun.
Oh, my God.
And we're going to have a blast. It's going to be fun.
We are.
I'm going to bed early tonight. I'm getting up a little bit late tomorrow, but it's going to be fun. Oh, stop it. Joel's down there. He's still on. He's down there going like this with his violin. Now you're really not invited, okay? So forget it. Okay, everybody.
And I'm coming over to your house tomorrow to help.
Yes, Jeannie's coming over tomorrow. Yes, she's sleeping over my house. We're going to have a ball. We're going to bring all the stuff up together on Saturday, and everything's going to be really cool. We're going to have a blast. And what else am I going to say? I guess that's about it. Oh, the radio. I'm sorry, I called a radio show. The podcast will not drop till Saturday. I'm just letting you all know we're filming this on Thursday, but we're as per usual. We try to drop them on Saturday all the time, unless Joel gives me a bunch of heat, and then he's like, I want it right away, and then it'll again with the violin. Stop it. I don't like you. All right, Jeannie, I love you, doll.
I love you more.
Soon. I love you most. Okay, we'll be talking to you soon, everybody. Night, night.
Good night.